Wow, there we go. I think we are live, mate. Getting a bit
Are we?
behind there, having a chat there with you, Steve. How are you today?
Not too bad. How are you?
Good, good. Just getting back from, I've had about a week off, really. I went down,
You
saw
look like you got some color.
yeah, I have been outside a bit.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, I see we're
Touring a
live
few
out there.
vineyards, out on one of the islands of New Zealand.
Ah, nice.
Very nice, very nice. Who have we got joining us today? Give us a shout out, say hi.
Yeah. I took a motorcycle ride this past weekend out to a vineyard in the middle of the state.
Didn't you go on a big, long road trip since we last chatted, like all over the state or something?
Well, I've gone lots of rides throughout the week, but I've got coming up next week, I'm going to North Carolina to ride the mountains. That's a week.
Okay.
I'm going back there again in June for a week. In July, I'm going to the Keys for a week again. And then August is the big trip. It's a kind of a circle all around the US. It's 7,000 miles.
Okay.
And that one, we keep extending. It might be a month now of motorcycle riding.
Yeah. You'll be on the road for a month riding.
Well, we got trailers going for, taking breaks, put the bike on the trailer, riding the truck for a while. And, because that's a lot of riding.
Wow.
Especially for an old fart like me. So,
how are your hands? Larry, good to see you on the call. Scott, welcome. What have you guys been up to these days? What's happening in the world of biz apps? It seems pretty quiet for me at the moment, mate. What about you?
Yeah, I don't know if it's quiet or I just haven't been paying attention. Been kind of distracted with some other things. We're focused on this pilot with Microsoft around the new licensing mechanism they're going to make available to ISVs, and we're in a pilot with them on that to kind of flesh out the details. I think there's maybe a dozen ISVs that are in that pilot, kind of running some water through the pipe, see if that's going to work.
So is this a licensing mechanism to license? Let me get this right. So if you've got a product on AppSource, that you can build licensing into that when it comes to deploying it into a customer's tenant?
Yeah, you can. And there'll be some options when you create your licensing, when you create your AppSource listing where you publish an app to AppSource, there'll be an option. Do you want to use Microsoft licensing? It's not going to be a requirement. If you've got your own licensing, keep using it. But if you want to take advantage of theirs, you can create licensing, like say, silver, gold, platinum package or something. At the moment, at least at this stage of just kind of running it through the pipes, they're just associating a license to an app.
Okay.
But there's talks about some more concrete licensing things coming. But the idea is that then in Partner Center, where you would handle your licenses, whether it's through a distributor or whoever, you can associate licenses to customers. And you can add and delete. And then these licenses will show up at the customer's tenant. When they log into Microsoft 365 and go to their licensing, they'll see Dynamic CRM, they'll see this, that, and the other, and they'll see your app and the number of licenses they bought, and they can assign them to users directly from there.
Wow, okay.
So it's the same mechanism that Microsoft uses for their first-party app licensing. So trying to make that work for ISVs to be able to use that same engine. And it's really kind of a prerequisite for commerce, because they've talked about commerce coming for AppSource, where a customer could go to AppSource, say, hey, I want this app, it costs $20 a month. Yeah, click, I want seven licenses, here's my credit card, boom. Which kind of circles back to Microsoft's rev share, because if they can get this going, then they don't need to rely on the honor system. They'll just take their cut and send you the change,
So one of the things that ISVs have been asking for years as a way to protect their IP, is this going to offer that type of protection that an ISV seeks?
It depends. At the moment, what just for the testing purposes, you can protect an app. Well, we know you can create a custom app and pull stuff over, so it's not super protective, but it's really just testing things. Other things being discussed are possibility to to protect an entity, a custom entity you've created, maybe custom web resources you've created that you can protect. You can protect the use of them. The problem is, any administrator, can log in the customizations area, and of course, anybody with system admin can use your stuff with or without a license, just like they can Dynamics.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, and I think one of the challenges with a lot of ISVs protection is, a lot of the stuff we're dealing with is JavaScript, which is, it just runs on the browser. You can't really protect that. Anybody can see what's going on there. And the only way to truly protect your, I guess there's two things. There's licensing. I want to have, companies require a license to use something, and, most companies will buy that license to use it. Then there's, what about the sneaky bastard company that wants to circumvent my licensing and get it for free?
Yep.
So there's that group. And then what about the company that wants to steal my IP and make a copy of my solution? So those are the two bad actors out there that very difficult to protect against.
Yeah.
Some of the schemes we've seen people use, if we had our rapid start stuff is less about IP and more about concept. But if we had a deep vertical solution with a lot of, heavy duty vertical IP, that's a different story. It wouldn't be super difficult for people to knock off rapid start, but why would they? It's a free app. So but if you're charging, $150 a month for your solution, there's somebody out there is thinking, I either want to try and get that without having to pay you, or I want to knock that off and go sell it for 99 bucks a month.
Yeah.
So those are tricky. And I think some of the solutions we've seen people use are, just offloading some of their code to Azure or someplace that they control, so that it's not really run entirely from within their solution. You install a solution and the solution makes some connections, and some of the work's done outside of the customer's environment. So if they don't pay, they can't really steal it because they don't have access to it. And if they don't pay the bill, you can just flip a switch and suddenly their stuff stops working.
Right. So this has been promised though for years. You think you're going to see it in this calendar year, or do you think it'll be further out than that?
I think we'll see some level of product licensing. I don't know if we'll see commerce, but this is obviously a prerequisite. Before you can have commerce, you got to have some mechanism for people to license and buy licenses from you to be able to collect money for.
Yeah.
So this is step one: is let's get this licensing piece in place, and then we'll come with commerce after. So I think we'll see this year, we'll see some level of licensing. The team's moving pretty quick on it. I don't know, who knows? I mean, if they're reusing the same mechanism they use currently for licensing, if they end up reusing the same mechanisms they use for commerce, maybe, and they got a lot of commerce assets out there, right?
Yeah.
The whole Xbox game.
Yeah, exactly. You'd think, with that base, they'd be pretty proficient at it, but I suppose it's potentially a whole different team at Microsoft than those that sit in Dynamics.
Yeah, I think so. And this is even this licensing is requiring working with the partner group, because it comes out of the partner center side.
Yeah, of course.
And AppSource, which isn't owned by Dynamics either. Right? AppSource has its own team. And then it drops back into Dynamics itself to be able to recognize these. So you got really three different, probably major product groups all involved just to make some of this stuff work. So it's not like just a feature within the BizApps group that they build, control, and deploy. This has got, they need cooperation from some other groups inside of Microsoft.
Yeah.
Which tends to slow things down, but it seems to be moving at a pretty good clip.
Huh. Interesting. I don't know. We've talked in the past a bit about James Phillips's name change or title change. Now, did you realize that his org is probably almost doubled in size?
Since when?
since his title change. Remember, I think we spoke about a month and a half ago where he became, I think his title has something like digital transformation
Lord.
business group or something like that, right? And my understanding, he took over a whole bunch of Azure as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So all the things like Azure Synapse, the stuff that kind of involves, how would you say, analytics, reporting, anything, customer insights, of course, ties into that. A lot of changes around like APIs connect, like a lot of stuff that's set over in Azure, which it still does, of course. It's now his. And my understanding, he might be over 10,000 people in his org now, maybe even higher.
Well, as you well know, customer insights is a big bet. You've
Massive.
spent the last few months training Microsoft people on the product. We know it's a big bet for Microsoft, and that came out of the business applications group. So it wouldn't surprise me that since it's dependent on some of these other assets, that they made a decision. Let's pull all these assets into one place, so this big bet of ours, doesn't get lost in a quagmire of mixed departments and people.
Yeah.
So it might make sense.
I'll be interested to see the next analyst report that comes out from Microsoft, because last year we for the first time saw this number of over $3 billion in revenue now under Biz Apps. I'll be interested to see if that's cut through the 4 billion. What's the rate of growth? It may be over 5 billion. It just seems crazy that Microsoft this week, I think, announced they're about to become a $2 trillion business, or have hit that already. It must have been only a year and a half ago that they hit the $1 trillion mark. Is that nuts the way this thing factors up? I mean, I wish my personal economics doubled every 2 years like that. That would be awesome.
Yeah, mine probably would if I stopped buying motorcycles.
Yeah, valid. So true.
Yeah, it is interesting. You got a company that's been around since the 80s, steady growth, all of a sudden, and now just exponential.
Yeah.
Really starting since Satya took over. I mean, it just shot, straight up.
Crazy.
And
Patty,
no sign of slowing down.
Welcome, Patty. I see you've joined us. Just pasted a link there into the chat and YouTube, which is this came out this week while I was away, and I was. It's funny how it was the first I'd heard about it, even though I was a shareholder of this company. But the first article, Tech Stack signs asset purchase agreement to acquire SalesSpark. So that came as a bit of surprise to me. I wasn't aware of it, but obviously been done and dusted now. Have you heard of Tech Stack?
I have not.
I wasn't familiar with them. I've never come across them before.
Well, Tech Stack sounds more like a holding company that maybe is acquiring technology companies to me.
But if you look at their website, it says a single system to run your software business, built for software and service. Tech Stack streamlines every part of your business so that you can scale, powered by Microsoft.
Well, that just sounds like it does everything.
Yeah, well, under their products is sales, project services, customer success, and RevOps, whatever RevOps are.
Well, it sounds like they're...
it looks very much Power BI.
Yeah.
Definitely is. Let me have a look at the sales side. But that was interesting, right? Because I thought for some time, we all thought Click Dimensions was going to acquire those assets. Oh my gosh, they've already got I just looked at their sales product, and the second screen down is pretty much, it's a SalesSpark sequencing engine that we built.
Huh, interesting.
Called Targeted Audiences, Outbound Sales Motions, so they haven't mucked around in going to market with it.
Tech Stack,
TEKSTACK.com.
Go check them out.
Welcome, Trek. I see you joined us. Yeah, check that out. They do onboarding, managed services.
Yeah, we're giving them an ad right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's That's a big Power BI dashboard they've got up there, and they're 8 minutes.
If you go to the sales section and under products, it says sales, and go down to integrated marketing motion, which that looks pretty familiar. You've seen that before. But then the next screenshot is outbound sales motions. Can you see that?
Yeah.
That targeted audience, that screen grab there is straight out of our out of SalesSpark there.
Yeah, there's something Scott built.
That's right. That's probably the most advanced PCF control that I've seen in the market.
Yeah, exactly. Say anything about what they paid for this thing?
Well, also I know it wasn't enough that my kicker kicked in as a shareholder. So,
and who would have sold this? Gravely's widow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you can understand, just want to get shot of it. I would say they actually, I wonder if the SalesSpark website is still up. salesspark.com.
Maybe a redirect back here.
The domain's for sale.
Really?
Nah, that can't be right. It can't be right.
Maybe you should go buy it.
It's eight grand US to buy it.
Oh, goodness.
I had left an S off in SalesSpark, so I just put that in. Yeah, the website's gone. It was there the other day.
Is it just a 404?
Oh, hang on. Not necessarily. Let's try this again. I had 3 S's in there this time. There we go. It's coming up. Oh, yep. No. The SalesSpark website is still up there.
If this is a recent acquisition, they may still be in a process of, getting assets moved over and stuff.
Totally. But I was, as I say, that screenshot that if you look on the SalesSpark website, you can see the banner ad there we had, which, the graphics drawn up. It's one of those graphics that have been used that they've used over on their website, on their new website. Tell you what, as in, I've been doing some work for Microsoft in the last wee bit, and have you had a look at that? Because Microsoft have tried to build a sequencing type tool as part of their software. I don't know if you've seen that.
I saw the effort. I haven't used it, but I've looked at it.
Yeah,
that was a thing that scared Gravely into shutting down.
That's right. And the thing is, it doesn't come close to what we had at SalesSpark. Like, honestly, can straight up say it's nowhere near, I think what Microsoft is still fundamentally leaving on the table after all these years of acquiring LinkedIn is a good, tight LinkedIn integration that drives value, that doesn't involve leaking any LinkedIn data that, might sit behind a privacy component. But man, there's just so much opportunity being left on the table for that sequencing tool. I feel like, once again, Microsoft heard that sequences are the thing a product needs to have. We need to tick that box, and it's the minimum tick, possible. It's like not thought out. It's not gone as far as what it could do. And yeah, frustrates me. It could go so much further.
I never really understood the logic, and it's like I always felt like they were overcompensating on the LinkedIn stuff of not wanting to touch it. When, I can understand me not mining LinkedIn. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
But my own connections, why can't I engage directly with my own connections through the tool, however I would want to? I could do it by logging into LinkedIn. Why can't I should be able to do anything I can do logged into LinkedIn? I should be able to do inside Dynamics.
Yeah. Okay, so we had an interesting question there by Tarek.
I'm going to go back to the page.
His question is this: for someone who would like to start a Microsoft Dynamics 365 CRM practice today, would you advise to have Click Dimensions as ISV for sales and marketing automation, or Dynamics 365 marketing? Is it good enough? Okay, so it's interesting that you asked that, because based on some side stuff that I'm doing, this is a question I've asked myself over the last 4 weeks. And keeping in mind that I only just published a podcast, I think the week before last, with Mike Dickinson from Click Dimensions that we just recorded a month or so ago. So here it is, straight up today. If I was starting a Dynamics 365 business, or let's say I was starting a biz apps practice. So therefore, I'm going to include things like CRM, I'm going to include naturally marketing and all the other products in that mix, as well as finance and operations type stuff. Do you know what I came to the conclusion? I will be advising strongly against using Click Dimensions in any projects. And
your fundamental reason for that?
Because the more that I look into where Microsoft is going, specifically with Dynamics 365 marketing, I think Microsoft have realized that the vision that they set out with Dynamics 365 marketing is not where they're going, or the world changed. They thought they were going to get tight with Adobe. Adobe then went out and bought products in their space. I think Adobe is a great frenemy. You know, they want to keep them close. They offer a big deal. But I tell you what, if I was to do a new practice tomorrow, I would not be going or using Click Dimensions. I would make sure that all my consultants were 100% focused. You know, those that were doing the marketing side of things would be on Dynamics 365 marketing.
You know, it's funny because that product has such a bumpy path. I mean, it was launched as crap. Its licensing was stupid. And it had lots of bugs and took forever to fix. And then I think this again is influenced by customer insights, because, you know, customer insights launched out there, and the ability to take segments from customer insights and push them into marketing. Now suddenly Dynamics for Marketing became associated directly with customer insights.
Correct.
Which is the big bet. So I think it got a lot of attention. And when you look at a new product from Microsoft that they've made a commitment to, and now the customer insights connection is placed it on the big bet table next to that.
Yeah.
Microsoft has all the money in the world to spend on something if they just decide they want to spend the money on it. Click Dimensions, great product, been around a long time. They don't have the pockets that Microsoft does to create whole new things to the degree that Microsoft can. The biggest difference here is Click Dimensions knows marketing and knows marketing applications. They've got, you know, long experience in marketing. Microsoft's still new to marketing.
Yeah. And
their first pass at the marketing app was really, let's go see what other people are doing and copy it. No marketers were involved in the making of Dynamics for Marketing. There were no marketers involved. It was strictly go copy what other marketing apps are doing. And I think that was really a failing on their part. I think they've got some more marketing eyeballs involved in it now, and they certainly got partners that know marketing that are heavily engaged with that team to tell them, hey, I'm a marketer and you built an app that's stupid. Here's what you need to do to make it for marketing. And they've taken this advice, which wasn't the case when they first launched that product. There was very much a we know best. You know, we don't need to listen to marketing people about how to build a marketing app. We're a technology company.
Yeah.
You know, but I think they've changed their tune on that. So I think that it's really just the depth of commitment and depth of pockets is the differentiator right now.
Yeah. You know, I honestly, and I see there's been a follow-up question there around the price point. I don't know that the price point would be a big enough. I don't know, because I haven't jumped into pricing, but I know they did sort a lot out with their pricing. So it'd be a case of, you know, comparing a right fit for the customer. But
yeah,
I tell you,
marketing, you know, especially, I mean, you don't measure marketing by price, you measure it by ROI.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the price, you measure it by ROI. If you're going to focus on price,
you'd go by any number of off-the-shelf solutions, right? But the thing is I think if you've looked at or spending time looking at human-centered design, which I know Microsoft have heavily pivoted their organization to, they've what they call catalysts internally or even externally now, they're acquiring partners, etc., to get up to speed on that. Human-centered design, one of the key things that happen in there is understanding your customer and their customer journey. What do they actually do as a customer? And then what can you do to improve customer journey engagement, that type of thing? And I think what Microsoft are doing, and it's going to be interesting to see the releases that come over the course of this year in marketing, but I think they're going to heavily invest in customer orchestration, customer journey, every touch point there. But when Customer Insights has brought this laser focus on what do we know about our customer at each point of the engagement, how can we add value? I think you combine that with a tool, which naturally sits in Dynamics 365 marketing. I think they're going to create an orchestration. They're starting to get some big brands now buying Dynamics 365 marketing. It's no longer just in, this is the SME space or something like that. They're seeing bigger organizations. Now, I don't think they're anywhere near the maturity of an Adobe platform from a marketing perspective, or even have the ear of the marketer. But I don't know that they're necessarily worried about that, because I think what they're doing is that more and more Microsoft are embedding into accounts where companies want all their software to play together and work together, and the data to be easily moved around those different systems. And every time you bring in another point solution, you lose that ability, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that companies are starting to, I read an article the other day that they reckon within 3 years, BizApps will exceed Salesforce's business. Now, I've been hearing that for the last 15 years that we were going to, outperform Salesforce.
I think it was all puffery before and bravado, but
now it's really starting to become tangible, right? Because one of the biggest complaints with Salesforce is, once again, disparate data sources. Like, you've got data, even if you buy into the Salesforce ecosystem, everything is segmented, is separated out. It doesn't talk to each other. Often a lot of the acquisitions are not fully integrated.
I think another part of that, though, is that I think Microsoft has kind of expanded the definition of business applications from, what was CRM. Well, they competed with Salesforce and CRM, and Salesforce CRM, and Dynamics and CRM. But they expanded the definition of business applications beyond what Salesforce is even capable of doing.
Yeah.
And made the whole thing a bigger story than what Salesforce has to say today.
Exactly.
They've thrown Salesforce in a tear out there, having to make acquisitions to try and backfill some of this, because they're hearing this from some of their bigger customers of what Microsoft is describing as business applications is different than what Salesforce was doing. Salesforce is talking about a part of what the Microsoft conversation was.
Yeah.
So they've had to fill that. But I think one of the things interesting about Microsoft is I don't think they are particularly innovative.
No.
I think they are excellent at spotting innovations by other people, startups, other companies, and then pouring resources onto an idea of others, and just taking that idea and owning it, and pouring resources to where they've just obliterated anything else out there that had the idea. This goes all the way back to freaking Excel and Word.
Exactly, right. Word perfect, Lotus 1, 2, 3. But even take things like the PlayStation, right, versus Xbox. That's another segment that they didn't start off in, but boy, did they own it at the end of the day? Absolutely. They're competing products now, but definitely you wouldn't say that Xbox wasn't one of the 2 top platforms in the world from a gamer's perspective or a console perspective. And then, but, go back to NT4, and, network operating system, which is now what we call Windows, and part of, everything that we have. And from a software perspective, back then it was, Novell NetWare. That was the business application to be in, or some form of Unix, something like that, would be running inside, bigger organizations. Yet,
well, and Windows Windows was Apple.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Apple came out with the idea of Windows, and Microsoft just took that and said, yep, that's a great idea. So they just consume the innovation of others and pour ungodly amount of resources on top of that stuff. But I guess nothing wrong with that business model. At the end of the day, would I rather have the solution from the guy who came up with the idea, who didn't have 2 cents to rub together, or the version that Microsoft, co-opted and poured millions of dollars and thousands of hours onto, and has an army to support? The decision gets pretty easy.
Yeah, and you're right. They got the hardware behind it.
It wasn't even that long ago that the business applications group was a relatively small group sitting out in Advanta, not even connected really to Microsoft, almost like just this little independent business, like a subsidiary running out there on its own, completely disconnected from the mothership, not really getting much in the way of investment, not really getting anything until, again, when Satya took over, and he's got some Dynamics roots.
Yeah.
And he started to invest in that, and then when he put Phillips on top of that, I mean, the whole thing has just been a rocket ride.
Totally.
Since
and the thing is, I mean, I'm guessing, but I reckon it's over 10,000 strong org now. As you say, it's a rocket ride. It's growing. It's expanding at a phenomenal rate. But, going back to looking at acquisitions, when Salesforce does an acquisition, one of the biggest things they get tapped, about is not integrating, right? There's a lot of development you have to do if you're a Salesforce customer and you want to use any of their marketing tools, or, Tableau, or any of their kind of BI tools, where Microsoft, integrates. And you just need to look at the remote robotic process automation, right? And the desktop, how's that for integration? Oh, we'll put it into the operating system. There you go. Everybody in the world that has Windows on a future update are all going to have it embedded in the operating system. I mean,
and when you talk about an acquisition, and that's a good example of one that was it Softomotive? Is that what they were called?
Yeah.
So Softomotive was built on Microsoft technology. So Microsoft acquired a company that was built on Microsoft's own platform to be able to convert that into a Microsoft product fairly easy. In the past, with some of the business applications acquisitions way back when, they bought stuff that wasn't even built on their platform.
Yeah.
Built in PHP, running on Amazon.
Totally. I mean,
completely fell on their face. But from a Salesforce standpoint, they don't have a platform. Nobody's built. MuleSoft wasn't built on Salesforce's platform. They don't have a platform. They don't have a desk. They don't have an operating system. They don't have these things that a lot of companies have built on. And Microsoft, I think, has finally gotten a little smarter and said, let's buy stuff that's already running on our assets.
Yeah.
Instead of something that has nothing to do with us. And I think instead of buying stuff that has nothing to do with them, now they just go copy it.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, interesting here. Sahan saying, and Microsoft also, has done so well in hardware. When Microsoft jumped into this space, I remember the critics going, they're not going to be able to build computers. They're not going to be able to yet, I feel like, something like the Surface now is really your, it's your, what do you call it? It's the MacBook, right? Yeah. It's got the advanced, the innovation, the detachable, all that kind of bullshit that you never use, but looks awesome.
Yeah, right.
It has it, and it's a premium product. That's the last Surface Book I'll ever buy. I think, with my own funds. And the reason is that it's now a premium, high-end, it's almost like a fashion accessory now, to have that product kind of like where Apple was, as you say, in that space. And then, hey, Art, you've also then got HoloLens. Like, how many people are going to get HoloLens when the US government or the military buy every moving part of HoloLens that's available? I mean, you imagine how much R&D Microsoft will be pouring in just for that acquisition, that I don't see anytime soon that the general populace is going to easily be able to get a HoloLens, because you've got big organizations acquiring every scrap that's available. I remember when they Microsoft acquired, I forget, it was Predictive Pixel or Pixel something or other, was those big touch screens, remember?
Yeah.
And everyone was like, man, I want one of those. I put my order in, as in for the company I was working for. And then we waited 18 months before the minimum version kind of came out. Why? Because you had every television network, all the military, etc., acquiring every bit of product that was available. They just couldn't manufacture it quickly enough to meet the demand. And so they've executed in the hardware space as well.
Well, they charged enough for it, and it didn't seem to slow it down. Normally, you know, that pay is slow. When we get internally here, when we get too busy, if we have too much work to do, we just start raising our price until the level of work slows down to the workload we can handle, you know.
See my shirt?
Yeah, CRM Ninja, nice.
How's that for, as you know who this came from, right?
I do.
EY. EY sent me out this, he did, do you know, he personally delivered this to me in person late one night. Can you believe that?
Is he down in New Zealand? Or is he
Nah, this is when I was living in London, coming home one night, it was dark, and there was this big, tall gentleman standing outside my place, and I was like, who's that? And he was delivering me his shirt, one of these shirts, and this is the first time I've really had it on.
Was he in a ninja suit?
I've seen him in a ninja suit, actually. He did attend an event in a ninja suit.
Yeah.
Because ninja, though, is, I think, more to do with his bike than anything else. But mate, he's someone that's certainly gone places in the last year and a half.
I see Tariq has another comment there.
I hear Larry. I hear you, Larry.
Integration. I'd like to see a seamless integration between D365 Commerce and Business Central. Well, Microsoft doesn't care about that. I mean, if you want commerce, they're not building D365 Commerce for small business. They're building that to go after big business, and Business Central is their product for small business.
Yeah.
So I don't see that coming anytime soon. I could be wrong, but I don't see that coming anytime soon.
Larry, why don't you go and place that GoFundMe link up? Oh, can you place that GoFundMe link? I don't know if you can. Let me see if I can do it on my side. But you've heard of the Bespoke Badger, right, Steve?
Yeah, sure.
So, Larry, what's the term they give you for the Bespoke Badger? You're not, what's not the custodian? It's, is it the proprietor? I think it is. But they've got a GoFundMe campaign around the Bespoke Badger's tomfoolery for brain tumor charity. Always love seeing the community getting together and funding something outside of just inside the community, which is awesome to see. I'll see if I can bring that up on my computer, just because I can't get it from the phone to the session. Well, there I can now. I'll just grab that link of yours. But if folks want to check out what Arianus is doing, boom, there you go. There's the link to the GoFundMe there. Get involved. There he is. He's the landlord. He's the landlord of the Bespoke Badger. I love that. I love
it looks like he's pretty close to reaching the goal he has there, but to be honest, the goal seems kind of small. It doesn't seem like a thousand, what is that?
1,000 quid. So that's about 2,000 US.
It doesn't seem like $2,000 US is going to go too far in brain tumor.
But you got to think here. This is a couple of lads and ladies having a few drinks over. This is not bad for the community. Just it's kind of like a couple of blokes at the pub going, "Hey, let's put our money together and do something." I think that's pretty good. That's a lot of beers going down there.
It's the technology equivalent of passing the hat.
Yeah. And of course, I can look at that. You can see the folks that are funding. Jean Levesque's there. Patty Burney is on the call here, giving a donation. Great to see. Joe Griffith, Rory, Allison, quite a few names there that we all know. Leon Tribe. Yeah. I think that's fantastic. Julian Sharp, Andy. Really good, man. Good to see you guys doing this. And anything we can do to help there. Okay, what else did you have? 90-day mentoring challenge is in full flight.
Oh, yes. You got how many folks this time around?
I think I've got between 60 and 70 that I took on this year. And I'm trying out a new platform and stuff. What I've done is removed off my website the ability for people to sign up. Because what happens is that when you start a challenge like this, more people are talking about it and people come along and go, oh, can I join? I know I've missed a week. And then what you do is get this disjointedness within the group. And so we've shied away from that. What I've done is taken off the ability to people to sign up for the 90-day mentoring challenge. And of course, in this case, it'd be the 2022 one. But I'm going to leave it to next year, because what I find is that if people sign up now and I'm not doing anything for 9 months, they forget about it. It's no longer a priority. Sure. So what I'll probably do is in 2022 is open up again for expression of interest. But yeah, got a good batch on this time. I got my second cohort coming up this week. And
of the folks you have joining, and I know you don't want to generalize because everybody's different, but yeah, what do you think that the majority of them are looking for? Are they looking to become MVPs? Are they looking to learn the Power Platform? Are they looking to get new jobs? Are they looking to start businesses? What do you kind of see as some common threads in that group?
The common things are, nobody's talking about where you go in your career in biz apps. Like, one of the common things I would get is that, people talking about being mentored in business. Let's say, you're in an organization, they've got quite a large team, and they'll have, you might get a mentor assigned to you. And that mentor often operates in the best interests of the organization, the company, right? So they're not really mentoring you based on your skills and talents and where you should go in your career. They're basing it on where you should go that benefits the business. Yeah. We want you to certify up in this area because, hey, we just sold a bunch of that and we need certified staff or something like in that. Yeah. We need to get skilled staff in that. So
it's I think not impartial.
It gives people an impartial view. Also, I think that, I've been doing this. I just worked out 18 years I've been in biz apps now. That's a fair amount of time since 2003. And I've seen the stuff, right? I've seen changes happen in the market. I've worked in a bunch of geographies. And so all I try to do is share that so people can look at that from an informed position, then decide what's best for them. Because, often people will go, I want to become an architect, and you go, why? And they just see that's the top of the totem pole. Or, I want to get into management and lead a team. And I'm like, why? It's interesting. In recent times, I'm seeing, yeah, thanks, Frank. If I'm a dinosaur, I think you must be there with me. But what we're seeing is, I think, what I found interesting is that I've seen people go into management roles in biz apps and then leave those management roles and go back to getting on the tools, so to speak. And often I feel that the whole management and people management type function, it's something that people think that's where they want to go, but they don't really do it based on anything other than that person seems to be in the limelight all the time or well-known or whatever. But it's not because they think, fundamentally, if I'm in management, I really get to, help people become their best selves in their role. Most managers, in my experience, is how do we maximize profits for the company, not how we maximize the environment for the individuals that work within it. I know it's a balance, within this, but I think that's some of the stuff we're getting, as in people, it's from all over the world. I've had so many people from Central and South America this time, which I think is totally awesome. And a lot of, probably the biggest audience mix definitely comes from either Europe or North America. So a lot of folks from Canada, through Europe and the UK.
Almost regardless of what it is you're hoping to do, whether you want to lead a team, whether you want to move into management, whether you want to start your own practice, anything you might want to do, all of those will be enhanced by knowledge.
Yeah.
And right now, particularly in our space, because it moves so quickly, if you're a little gear in a big organization, the odds are the gears above you don't really know that much about this business. And they're out there selling. A lot of them are selling old stuff. They're not familiar. And there's an opportunity for people that put the effort in to go get knowledge, which is not necessarily easy. I mean, it's all, the problem right now is there's too much. There's too much product and too many sources of information to be able to distill it into something that's usable. But for those that are able to do that and really kind of master and I'm not talking about being developers of but master the tool set that is available, being able to understand what the tools are, how they work, where they play, what problems they can solve across that whole stack. I mean, this is probably the highest value today, I think, whether you're in an organization, whether you want to lead a team, whether you're, at least in our business, is understanding the tools that are out there and when to bring them to bear. Because I continuously run into customers that have no idea what tool they need to solve their problem. And actually, there's maybe 2 or 3. So then you have to dive into that next level to figure out which of the 2 or 3 is the best one. And if you don't know all of the tools and what they do, you can't even have this conversation with a customer. So there's lots of customers out there that are buying the wrong tool because they're buying it from a partner who doesn't know any other tool.
And the amount of times that I've heard this being said, you know, partners go, we're product agnostic. We go with whatever the customer wants. And I'm like, the biggest bullshit on that comment ever. You go with what you know. People are by nature go with what they know, what their expertise on. That's what they're going to recommend. It's not what's in the best interest necessarily of the customer, but it's what you shine, what you excel in. And that's why I think it's important that you are well-rounded in knowing the product fit. Even though you might not be a guru on all of them, you need to kind of know enough so that when you are advising, the amount of times I've seen, you know, across my career, consultants recommending features that were discontinued on the platform because they had never evolved their knowledge. And I mean, the flip side of that, of course, is the proliferation of certifications in the last 3 years. It's now just, you know, it's like people are dedicating their lives to taking certification, and it's a hard one because, you know, I know that to maintain gold partner, all that kind of stuff, and the company wants to have a number of certified staff or need to have a number of certified staff. But I feel like now it's almost people are doing certification for certification's sake because they want that. I mean, if it doesn't take you to be on LinkedIn for more than 5 minutes and you'll be bombarded by people in your network that I've just done this certification, I've just done that one and that one and that one and that one. And it's kind of like, you know, look at my playing cards at all the certifications I've done. And then all of a sudden, there's a whole bunch of new certifications again. And so they're back on that loop. And I'm like, shit, you got to live life a bit as well. Like, it's not all about work and just focusing on this. And I think, I think certification has got way off course to where it used to be. You know, it didn't be about certification. It used to be about learning and then a validation of learning with certification. Now it seems to be, it's just about getting the cert. Forget the actual underlying, not the experiential knowledge rather than the book knowledge.
So I've always been a very good test taker, you know, ever since school, very good test taker. And I would, most tests are multiple choice. They're always multiple choice. Which means they're telling you the answer to the question. You just have to figure out which one it is. And I've always been very good at kind of guessing these things. So whenever I would take any exam, even back in school, I didn't study. Certification, I didn't study. I figured, you know, I'm going to go sit. If I fail, then I'll know what I missed, and that's what I'll go back and study. I pass almost every one of them because I'm a good test taker. But that doesn't mean I know jack shit about that because I didn't study. I haven't used the product. I just was smart enough in reading the question, how it was, you know, written, and the answer, how it was written, to say it's probably this, and end up getting, if the minimum score is 70, I mean, I'm getting 71 by basically just making educated guesses. So you get a cert about a product you know nothing about. And there's lots of people out there that are very good at taking tests, end up with a certification. If they got thrown into a project that required that product, they couldn't swim. They wouldn't be able to swim at all. Wouldn't be able to swim at all. So I've never been a big fan of certs. And I mean, one of the dumbest people I ever hired in business years ago was a guy who was a combination MBA, CPA. He had both any CPA. I mean, he couldn't figure out anything. You know, he couldn't do anything. Very good at schooling, very good at taking tests, not any good at all in real world business or solving problems. So, I mean, what else are you going to have, right? Certifications is the way Microsoft is using to tell the world this person knows this product. It's not a guarantee that they do by any stretch.
No,
but what else is? What else is?
Exactly. And I'm all for continuous learning. And I think in this, you know, if you're going to be at the top of your game, you need to be continuously learning. And certifications, I suppose, is a great way to do that. Sometimes I just worry, though, that people are more focused on certification than practical knowledge development, which you asked, you know, on the 98 Challenge, what was the other common theme? The other common theme was really around people wanting to understand how they engage in the community better. Like if you come, you know, if you just arrive in this because somehow your company implemented the software, et cetera, and then all of a sudden you realize, hey, there's other people out there talking about this. You might see something on Twitter, but how do you actually engage in the community? How do you get a speaking opportunity at something like the Scottish Summit? How do you become better at building your profile in the community? And so, yeah, I spent a lot of time on that. I don't know that I haven't seen anywhere that people are particularly coming to because they want to become MVPs. In saying that, I think since I've been running this, and this is my 4th year of the 90-day mentoring challenge, I think I'm sitting between 25 and 30 folks that have become BizApps MVPs that have gone through it over the course of that. So it's not tailored at creating MVPs, but I'm going to give you some good guidance around some do's and do's nots to kind of get you there. And I find a lot of those folks that do that, and it's not absolute. Like I know Paddy's on this call, and Paddy's one that surprised me that he's not an MVP because he's been working his ass off hard out in the community up there in Scotland for some time, and really training the next group of people coming through on the tech details of BizApps. And so but it's not an absolute. You know, they've got quotas and numbers internally in Microsoft for different geographies, and it's becoming a lot more competitive, I feel, to become an MVP, even though a heap of people have become MVPs in the last 2 years. I feel it's more competitive. Yeah. There's more high quality content being produced all the time by folks.
Well, it's logical that a lot of the folks that have gone through your program went on to become MVPs because by going through your program, they've already demonstrated an interest in dedicating themselves to learning and understanding something. So they're kind of already on a path, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've talked to many people, some you and I both know, that talk about, you know, wanting to be an MVP, but don't take the first step. Won't take the first step, won't launch the first YouTube, won't write the first blog, but won't take the very first step to get there. And, you know, wishing is not, you know, going to get you anywhere. You have to do the work. And, you know, obviously people that are in your program are prepared to do some work, you know?
Yeah. So true.
That's a common denominator of any of the MVPs is that they're all willing to do the work, and you know, so are the folks in your program. So very cool.
Yeah. What else do we have? What else do on the? We've got no guest obviously today. Did you drop the guest baton today?
Yeah, you know what? We took the break. So we've been off for like a month, and you know, I just kind of forgot about everything.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And I know we even juggled this time session because the daylight saving changes yet again. So hopefully we're locked into a sequence now. I know the reason we missed the last one was my fault. I had a whole bunch of podcasts booked back to back, which this hadn't blocked that space out in the diary, and people had taken that space in the diary. Tell me, Steve, if you were today thinking of, let's say you didn't own a Dynamics business like you do with Rapid Start, if you would do, what's the opportunity now for people to start up? We've had a couple of comments in today's session around starting a practice today. We've seen consolidation go on the market in the last, 2, 3, 4 years, where folks like DXC, EY, KPMG have gobbled up a whole bunch of players, Hitachi, etc. What do you see what do you see the opportunity is for somebody to actually go in and start a consulting business around biz apps today? Do you see that, over 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the growth is there, the opportunity is expanding? What's your thoughts?
If I could do this all over again, I would have gone vertical. With our services, we served any customer, any business application product, didn't matter which product, didn't matter the customer, didn't matter the industry. With our IP, we went horizontal, rep start as horizontal. And I think if I could do it all over again, I would have done some pretty good research around verticals that have got money, that have got needs that can be solved by these things. And I would have, which is a tough bullet to bite, because I remember when I thought about this in the past, because I thought, if I'm going to focus on one, I'm going to do it at the expense of all others. And when you're already running a business, doing business for a bunch of different kinds of customers, let's say suddenly you find yourself working with a couple of construction companies. Amongst your 20 customers, 2 are construction companies. And you decide, I can become a real expert in the construction business with these 2 companies to kind of help gain that knowledge and go deep into that whole industry, go to the construction conferences, learn everything there is to know about construction business and understand that vertical. But in order to do that today, I'd have to kind of stop going after the other 18 customers that are in different businesses.
Yeah.
And that was a decision I know I've grappled with a couple of times, especially when Microsoft was hitting us all real heavy about go vertical, and they still are.
Yeah.
From Microsoft's standpoint, that works for Microsoft, is that all their partners are verticalized, but Microsoft is not verticalized.
Well, aren't they becoming verticalized in even biz apps? They've got their 5 different clouds now, is it?
Well, they're offering verticalized solutions,
Yeah.
but Microsoft is not verticalized.
Totally.
Microsoft. So they really what they'd like to do is, as opposed to Microsoft having deep expertise in a vertical, they would like to have the partners, hey, instead of all you fucking partners being jack of all trades, you're not doing us any good, or you any good, by everybody being a jack of all trades. We as Microsoft, we want to have a handful of experts that we can reach out to for whatever it is to augment knowledge we don't have.
Yeah.
But right now, nobody has it because everybody's a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
So I think
there's definitely some organizations that have cut themselves, like they might be a jack of all trades. In other words, if they see an opportunity where they know they can excel in, even though they might not have industry IP, they'll chase it. But what I am noticing, a lot of the bigger players are consolidating and getting really good, maybe in insurance or FSI or healthcare, and they're using that. So they're not saying we're going to just do that, but they're developing out those streams of expertise. They're hiring in staff that are subject matter experts in those areas. So I do see that starting to change with a lot of the folks that have been around for a long time, but they're not running away from somebody that's handing them money to build a solution that might not be in one of their industries.
I mean, you got to be a big partner, big staff, big pockets to go heavy into a big vertical. If you want to go into the insurance vertical, banking vertical, healthcare, these are big things. If you want to go into building a solution that's perfect for a lawn mowing business, they're not going to go after that.
Yeah.
Even though that's a vertical. So when you're talking to me about my business, if I'd have done it over again, I'd have gone after some vertical, maybe not one the size that, Avanade could go after.
Yeah.
Because you just don't have the resources to be able to support some of those big verticals. But there's a lot of verticals out there, and construction business. I mean, I could have made a decision 10 years ago to focus on construction business, and I would have owned that business now.
Yeah.
We'd have the premier app for construction. Nobody else would be thinking about anything else. But I chose to go the other route. So that's a difference I would go. It looks like we're out of time.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. It's been great to have you on. I know that I'm not fully on point. I've just been teaching for the last 5 hours, and to keep in mind, it's only 9 a.m. in the morning for me right now. So I've been teaching all through the night. My last CDP course for this financial year. So done.
Sorry, we didn't have any guests.
What's that?
Sorry we didn't have any guests. I'll try and do better for the next show.
Well, we've got the dates locked in now, right? So let's see how we go. Yeah, good dialogue happening in the chat, which has been fantastic. If you want to see a specific guest on the show, make sure you reach out, let us know. Yeah, everyone have a good rest of the week.
All right, see y'all. Bye-bye.